So Tycoon has a lot of droppable vehicles, and this makes it really difficult for you to choose which one you actually want to use. Therefore, in today's video, guys, I will be ranking all of these droppable vehicles in 5 categories: irrelevant, bad, good enough, the absolute best, and the OP. And in today's video, guys, I will be ranking them based on how good they are when it comes to getting you back to your base, or how good they are when you want to just re-enter combat. But anyway, before we start, I would really appreciate if you did subscribe. We're on the way to 50,000 subscribers. So anyways, firstly, starting with the irrelevant category, these are the worst of the worst. We got the ATV. And this is a pretty simple and self-explanatory one. The ATV literally has nothing going for it. I guess you could say that its speed is pretty good, but that doesn't really matter considering the fact that the speed literally makes it flip over the environment so much. This thing's just not good in any way. Next up, we got the buggy, which is kinda just the same thing as the ATV. It can carry oil barrels, but that really doesn't matter. The goal of this video is to tell you if these things should be airdropped or not, and I just don't see a reason why the buggy should be airdropped. And lastly, we also got the Gurkha. I believe it's the best one out of the irrelevant category, to be totally honest with you, because of the fact that it has a pretty decent health and a decent speed. But the fact that this thing costs parts is freaking crazy to me. I genuinely cannot believe that. Anyway, now moving into the bad category, where these vehicles are not the best, but they can be alright sometimes, I guess. We got the Speedy Humvee. So this one is once again kind of self-explanatory. It's a vehicle that you use to get back to your base, except it's not very efficient at doing that, and the simple reason for that is because it just flips over terrain, and that's literally it. There's nothing more. Now next up, we got the Humvee Hawkeye, and this vehicle is really sad to me because it's supposed to be a decent artillery, except it doesn't really do that well at this job. You kind of gotta stand still to even use it, where most artilleries in this game just happen to be forced to use movement in combat, or else you're just gonna die in like a second. So the Humvee Hawkeye really is not useful in any way. And lastly, we also got the Weasel Anti-Air. Do you need it to get back into combat? Not really. You could get other anti-air vehicles which are much better than this thing, and it doesn't really have like a high level of versatility, so I don't recommend using the Weasel anti-air either. Anyway, now actually moving into the things that are good enough, which would be able to get the job done for you. Starting off with the LAV 25. So the LAV 25 is actually a pretty good vehicle, because what it really does have for it is its insane levels of DPS. This thing can really shred anything pretty quickly, because you could combine the first gun and the gun under F really efficiently together, and by that time you'll be able to basically destroy any tank or really any vehicle in the game, unless they have like above 2,500 health. For the most part, this thing can do some insane DPS. Next up, we got the VCAC Mephisto, which I heavily recommend this thing for actually getting back to your base, and also using it for all-terrain, just simply because this thing is amphibious. It can be okay for anti-air in some cases, except the one issue which I have with it is that the missile kind of just despawns if the person's a little bit too far away. Some other guided missile vehicles on this list will not have as much of a problem as the VCAC when it comes to this. But yeah, next up, moving into the Weasel 1 MK20. So the Weasel 1 MK20 is simply just a vehicle that will be pretty good at anti-air. Its damage against ground vehicles or really tanks is not very great, to be honest with you. It's kind of supposed to just be a flat gun vehicle, and it kind of does the job as that kind of vehicle. Anyway, next up, moving into the BTR-80. This one is kind of just supposed to be a DPS machine, similar to the LAV 25. It's pretty okay at doing that, but it is also all-terrain, so that's another thing that needs to be considered. It is kind of useful when it comes to coming back to your base or needing to retreat in spots where the opponent will just not see you going. And now moving into the Humvee Tau, and I actually really like this vehicle due to one reason, and that's the fact that it can stay away from danger really well, because the Tau can actually look on through walls, so you know where basically everything is. The only vehicles which are really much of a threat to you are going to be air vehicles, but hopefully if you hide behind terrain well enough, you should be able to avoid them in most of the cases. But if you have to fight, your kit for damage is okay. It's nothing too special though. Now next I'm moving into all the hovercrafts, which you can actually airdrop. I personally prefer to use the one with the Gatling gun, but the hovercrafts are really good when it comes to coming back to your base, due to the simple fact that they can go across all terrain, but also their speed is absolutely insane. Being able to go 104 miles per hour is some crazy stuff. And now moving into the last vehicle on this list, we got the Guardian. So the Guardian is kinda just similar to all these other vehicles. It can have decent DPS potential, and it has smoke, so I guess you could use that to defend yourself against missiles, but it will not last you long, so you really gotta try to get back to your base as soon as possible. This thing is basically the definition of good enough, but really have to be careful. And now moving into the best of the best, we got the M3 Bradley. So this vehicle is kinda just a all versatility type of monster. You use it for being able to see through walls and where enemies are, which allows you to kinda ambush them. And this is a vehicle that you can use to go back into combat if you really need it. Its DPS is pretty decent close range. You kinda have to worry about ground vehicles though, because your damage isn't very good against them, but everything else, the Bradley will serve you well. Now moving into the Weasel Tau, which is kinda similar to the Bradley itself, it can also lock on through walls. However, this thing has to be played a lot differently. You gotta kinda run away from the person and utilize your speed and hitbox and hit them with a guided missile and then just continue the process. However, this thing is also pretty great when it comes to anti-air. Its missile has like an insanely long despawn timer, meaning that you can just fire it and hit people from even 4,000 studs away, which is like crazy, dude. But anyway, next up, moving into the Lavad. This thing is an absolute monster after their buffs. If you combine the rockets and the cannon itself, you can basically destroy any tank, any ground vehicle in the game. It's got its anti-air missiles, it's amphibious, it's got smoke. It kinda has everything that you need for a vehicle that you need to spawn in. Next up, we have the Bradley Linebacker. So this one is kinda just a good vehicle when it comes to DPS up close, because if you combine the cannon and the rockets themselves, you can basically kill most things in the game. However, you do have to once again worry for the fact that your anti-air capabilities are not going to be as great, just simply due to the fact that the missiles can be flared, so that's not so good since you only have 4 of them, and the cannon does struggle against ground vehicles sometimes. Now next up, moving into the JOTV. So this vehicle is actually a powerhouse. Sadly, you can't really see it by the gameplay because the servers which I'm playing in just don't let me play against ground vehicles for some reason, so that sucks. But this thing can kind of just see through walls, knowing where every enemy is, and when it does get to you at close range, it will shred you with its gun. And even if it doesn't, it can kind of just sit at range and constantly kill you with the javelins, and there's literally nothing you can do about it because this thing is just so much faster than you. And now lastly, moving into the BTR-80 Cleaver. This vehicle is really good for all-terrain, and it's kind of just a BTR-80 mixed with a VCAC Mephisto, making up one really powerful vehicle. It's got some decent DPS, and it's also got the ability to shoot things out the sky. It can lock on through walls. It kind of just has everything. The only one issue which I have with it is that its health isn't very great, but if you're using this thing as a vehicle that really needs to quickly get some damage done and then get out of combat, it will definitely be able to get the job done. And now lastly, moving into the OP category. This one is so self-explanatory. The BMD-4M is going to be taking the first spot. This thing has basically everything you need. It is an amphibious vehicle. It has insane speed. It's got great health. It's got insane DPS. It is all-terrain. Like, it has everything that you really want for a cost of 8 parts. The fact that you can airdrop this thing is like crazy to me. This thing is broken. And along with this, another vehicle that's going to be joining it in S tier is obviously going to be the DeLorean. The DeLorean is the best vehicle that you need to use when you want to get back to your base. You just spawn this thing in and you're back at your base in like 5 to 10 seconds. And the fact that nobody can lock onto you makes this even easier. If you want a reliable way to come back to your base and grab another vehicle, DeLorean is kind of the vehicle that you need to use. But anyway, for the time being, that's all I have for you all in today's video. Do let me know in the comment section down below what is your favorite airdroppable vehicle to use, and make sure to subscribe. We're on the way to 50,000.